For maybe an hour or two, get some painting done. Plus, it's good to take a break from the Dune role playing game every now and then. It's like, come on. Well, that's weird. I was going to add a chat invite for people, and it's telling me I can't. I don't like that. So let's try it again. Maybe I copied something wrong or did something wrong there. Okay. Next on News at 11. Gen X guy fights with computer. Okay. Why is that not wanting to paste? I'm on chat. Yeah, there's chat. What is this? Oh, an overlay where people can see comments. I'd have to get more comments before I would. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay. Let's go here. That is so strange. I'm not getting any painting done because I'm worried about. Found some cool characters in my collection of just sci-fi stuff that I think are going to be pretty cool. So we've got this guy right here. I'm just going to freshen him up, but he could easily be a Sook Doctor or Mentat. I'm thinking I'm going to take his robe or his coat and do it a different color. Probably the Starship Gray that I've done all the rest of the figures that are members of House Becca. So, that tends to be the color. So, yeah, we'll do that. And then I found a female figure with what looks like a Mala pistol in her hand and some gear on, and that will be a perfect figure for the female player at my table who has decided to play a smuggler. Now, it will be interesting, I think, to figure out the interactions between the smuggler and, a House Minoris. I see nothing but possible prosperity there. Since if you are a House Minoris on a hostile planet where there are multiple factions that at any moment could decide to try and take you out, knowing a smuggler with a ship, could be an amazingly smart move on your part, I would say. On top of that, she will probably have a sub character, possibly even a group of NPCs, and perhaps even depending on how she makes her character, a carry all and a spice harvester, plus the crew of said, carry on spice harvester. Of course, she'll be expected to pay taxes to the Spacers Guild, so that'll be something that's constantly hanging over her head. And if she's out in the deep desert harvesting spice, she'll run the threat of one of the other houses showing up and just wrecking your shit just because they want to is always a thing. You know what I mean? So this game is a lot more in depth than I first gave it credit for. In a way, it kind of reminds me of what was that game way back in the day, like Ars Magica or something like that, where everyone made like 3 different characters. One was a wizard, and one was a fighter, and one could be. I mean, everybody made 3 characters, but you had to make a wizard, right? And in a lot of ways, this game is similar to that in that you make your house first and you choose what your house is known for. Industry, espionage, whatever it is. And then after you make your house, you make your character. And depending on the kind of character you make and the assets you take, you could end up being in charge of numerous sub characters. And like a great example of that is Hungar's character, who chose to be a house officer, right? And that means that he is pretty much the Gurney Halleck of the game. He is in charge of training the house troops. Whereas my other brother, he chose to be a sword master. Now we need to figure out, he as a sword master, if he is more of a soldier, an assassin, a duelist, like what is his actual place within the house. There's another person who wants to be a sword master, and I mean, it would be easier if everyone picked like different roles. And who knows, if I have a hard time figuring things out, that might be a thing. I mean, I already nixed everybody wanting to be Fremen. So if I wanted to say, hey, if we've got multiples of one thing, we need to, think about it, because there could be some roles that are important to the survival of the house that are not being fulfilled because people are too busy, doing their thing, right? Now the Bene Gesserit is kind of covered because the noble of the house that's being sent into the fire was trained by the Bene Gesserit and has this player trait called dual allegiance. So she is loyal to her house and at the same time loyal to the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. So, which, I mean, that would be interesting, like in game, but not really, but maybe kind of. Depends on your point of view to see, like, it's like she's playing a character that at some point could be requested by one of her superiors to have a child with somebody or seduce somebody or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? That's a thing she could be, or her leader of her house back on their home world of Serpentis 5 or whatever it is, could decide that perhaps, she could be part of um, an allegiance, like, hey, we're going to stop this war and in return, you marry my daughter, and that way our houses will be much closer together or whatever in it. So, I mean, that's like RP type stuff that you're like, it's kind of like, wow, like, does she tell the Bene Gesserit to pound sand if they tell her to become pregnant with the child of Feyd-Rautha? Seduce Feyd or seduce a high-ranking Atreides. That's going to be up to the player, right? But I don't think I've ever seen a situation like that in like a D&D game, And then, of course, I've got my brother's character, who is denoted by the extra purple armor and the scarred up face, and he's got a cape, you know. And part of his assets is like a platoon of soldiers or a company. So he has under him a sub character that's maybe a captain that he can actually use in place of his own character if he sends the captain and men out to take part in a thing. And then, of course, how that would be handled is you would roll a battle plus, whatever check, maybe duty. And if you succeed, then, whatever the mission was a success. Now, if it turns out it would be something that would take a very long time, then you have an extended challenge where, it could go back and forth. But, like, what if their house finds a research base from, 10 millennia ago, and they decide to send in house troopers to secure the base, but there's already scavs and whatever there. That would be an incident where Hungar could lead his men personally or send his captain and a unit of men, and depending on how many scavs are in the area, and scavs are just scavengers, that would determine the difficulty of the challenge. And also, if they succeed, now they have access to the technology of this ancient research base. But of course, they'll have to keep it secret that they have that, or otherwise a house majoris like Harkonnen or Atreides will roll in. And because the major houses on Dune in this setting, as they call them, the house majoris, is Atreides and Harkonnen. Those are the major houses. And then you have literally dozens of minor houses. House Minoris, which, most of them are affiliated with one of the two, Harkonnen or Atreides. But there are a few freelancers out there, trying to take advantage of the situation. And and that, could lead to a lot of adventuring. Like if they get invited to a dinner, who goes to the dinner? Well, obviously, the noble of House Becca goes, but at the same time, it's like she's not going to go alone. She's going to bring her honor guard with her, which means that Hungar will probably go, even though he won't be able to, take part in any of the noble stuff. They'll just put him and his guards and whatnot somewhere else. They'll be fed and everything. They're not nobles or people of importance, so they won't be at the table. As a matter of fact, even the lady from House Minoris, House Becca, not really super important, unless one of the great houses is trying to decide to uh, manipulate, marry into, form an alliance, etc. At which point, it could be a thing. I mean, being a minor house with like not a lot of enemies and whatever grants their house a certain amount of anonymity and deniability. So it could be entirely possible that members of the Water Guild, the Water Guild, which are the guys who own the rights to harvest water on the poles, where there is still some ice on occasion. Yeah, it totally. They could get involved with that. Like one water seller could hire them to sabotage another water seller, or and there's a lot of ways to sabotage a water seller besides sending a Mentat assassin or something to blow shit up. I mean, she could use her powers with the court to just talk trash and destroy the reputation of that guild. So a lot of things can happen. Of course, one thing that the players have to understand is any of the crazy stuff they can do, the other players or the other factions within the game could do to them. Like, they could make enemies with one of the groups of scavengers, or a group of religious fanatics that have decided that they're going to do whatever it takes to make them pay for whatever they done. Like you could say that the scavengers that were guarding the research station are part of a bigger group, and they might even be part of a group that's built around some kind of religion, at which point now you might have a group of Dunemen who live way out, amongst the rocks, and their whole deal is that they want you dead, you know. So hopefully your house mentats are on high alert, using their spies and contacts to, intercept any assassination attempts on the house. And then, we're also assuming, of course, that one of the greater houses wouldn't be involved. Like maybe or even one of the other minor houses might be like, hey, these guys are competition to what we're doing. So, I mean, the thing is, since this is the War of Assassins, Canley has been called, no one can really move with massive amounts of troops against each other. So it's turned into small unit actions and daggers in the back during the middle of the night. That's kind of how the war is being fought, Pretty much you can do anything you can do as long as no one can prove you did it. That's kind of the rules. The only rule, really. The only major rule is if you do something super shady that's outside of the rules of Canley, you just want to make sure nobody knows you did it. And that way you don't draw the ire of the Emperor, who has 5 legions of Sardaukar stationed on Arrakis, who do nothing all night but patrol the deep desert and try to track down any surviving Fremen so they can be exterminated. So there is that, the Emperor has decided that, yes, the Fremen must be exterminated. And that's what they're doing. If they find a Fremen sietch, they go in and they decimate the Fremen there with overwhelming power. Personally, it sucks because a couple of guys in the group really were like, I want to play Fremen. And because I'm using this different setting, I had to be like, I'm afraid you really can't, because if any Fremen do exist, they're in hiding and, not likely to pop up. Of course, that is something to keep up your sleeve as a DM to, at some point, have the Fremen reappear, at least some of them. I mean, the desert is deep and there's nothing in it. So a lot of things can happen. But yeah, this is pretty much, this is a Modiphius game, so it's a 2.20 game. I know a lot of people hate that, but I personally like it, I played Conan, and I absolutely thought it was a great game. And I see the new version of Conan coming out, and I'm a little iffy on it, It's like, it might be good. I mean, that's the thing. It might be good, but it feels almost like they are losing a lot of the stuff that I thought made the original Conan so awesome, you know. Like they're streamlining and simplifying the game, but the problem for me is I thought Conan 2.20 was just about the perfect level of crunch, you know? You had crunch. You had a little bit of this and that, but at the same time, you had the simplicity of the 2.20 system. And I mean, I know a lot of people hate the 2.20 system because they hate uh, the secondary economy where players can give DMs tokens to roll extra dice, and DMs can spend those tokens to inflict even more, you know, adversity on the players. But you know, the argument I've heard is that drags people out of the game. It never drug me out of the game, but you know, I mean, that's just my experience, right? So I see there's a few of you there. If one of you guys would comment in chat, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. I would love that because there's been nothing in my chat. And I'm wondering, like, and it's not letting me put a link up either, which is weird because, I mean, I know I'm up to date and everything. So it's like, what's going on here? Like, I can make my name rounded. Yeah. Well, I can do all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Captions. I don't know what I'm going to caption, but you know, CDR codes, music, notes, and then chat. And it's like, why is chat not wanting to work? That is very interesting, you know? Did I mean, it says I'm live, and I'm live on 3 different things. Okay, so I've got the chat right there where I can look at it. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know what is happening here.
Pretty good. How are you, sweetie?
You look at this.
Definitely.
No. I'm looking at some stuff real quick, so forgive me, please. Plus, I need some paint to dry. You know, I just did a lot of painting, so it's the whole reason I do these streams. Honestly, is for the painting.
That is awesome.
Okay, Dune, and of course, I've been like totally, you know, into the whole Dune thing lately since, you know.
My meeting with Michelle got canceled and moved back to next week because she was out of office yesterday. I almost.
They've been patching the hell out of Dune too.
So I did win my bet. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I was like, I don't think anyone's going to be brave enough to ask David on the thing without the thing because
Let me see. Of course, all the old Dune video games, it looks like are on abandonware and stuff. So that's kind of interesting. If you ever wanted to play the old Dune RTSs, they're on. Okay, let me see. Is this so? No, this isn't the one. This isn't it. This isn't it. Is this it? Nope. Oh, they're going to allow cross-play. That should be good. Only because I think it'll populate some of the servers more. So, they've been constantly trying to fix, like, very. What in the hell is that? And why is it not letting me turn the volume down? Like, I want to hear that shit. Okay, we want to pause that because I want to add this to the channel so that you guys can see it. Let's see. So we want to add a window or screen. Let's see. No, it's a window. No, it's not that. Okay, Dan Awakening. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah, that's the one we want to add, I think. Boom. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Crap. That's what we got. We got crap. You know what? Bing. Damn you, Bing. Okay. No. Accidentally hit the X and it's like, you want to leave the stream? No. I've got figures to paint. Things to do. No, I want to X out of this trip and X out of this and do what I should have done, which is go to YouTube and type in the Dune trailer. Dungeon Damsel. Every time I see Dungeon Damsel, I swear she looks just like a girl I dated 30 years ago. It's like, it's eerie, how people have freaking. So we type that in, and then we go here and we type this in. And let's see if we can find a good trailer. The official launch trailer. One thing that is weird is they made all the Harkonnens into like these pasty white guys. And they made all the Atreides these like multiracial, like lots of different ethnicities. And it's kind of wild. Oh, I got some comments. Let's look at our comments too. Oh, my brother saying he fell back asleep. And then my other brother saying he upgraded his base. He needed to because his base was built right on the line of where worms could attack. And I think some asshat um, might have put a thumper down next to his base. And, that, of course, um, caused a worm to show up and eat like half of his base. Like all the parts of his base that were, edible by a worm. Yeah, got freaking ganked by a worm. So I think I got it now, since I'm doing it the way I know how to do it instead of trying to do it the stupid way that I was trying to do it, by using Bing search and stuff like that. Okay, so we'll turn this on, but keep it kind of low because I don't got headphones on. Hopefully it won't echo too bad. I've got anti-echo on my mic setup, but my Yeti, but whatever. So let's go here. I don't know how Double D does it, clicking back and forth between videos and stuff. Yeah, I don't like that. That's not a good setup. That's a even worse setup. That's actually not a bad setup, but how about this one? I don't know. Me just in the corner being all tiny and stuff, being like, hey, what's going on, guys? We're going to watch this trailer about Dune Awakening. Anyway, here we go. And this is what I'm basing the actual Dune role-playing game I intend to run on.
The only peace I find is a future that never happened. One where I, Paul Atreides, was never born. I created the future until it created me. But I see a narrow way, a path that might have been. What if my mother had obeyed her orders and given birth to a girl? Everything would change. Dr. Yue exposed before his betrayal. A world where my father lives. House Atreides surviving the Battle of Arrakeen. Sardaukar deployed to protect the Spice Melange. A war of assassins spreading across the planet. Fremen exterminated. No Muad'Dib. No Lisan al-Gaib. No Kwisatz Haderach. All of my visions lead to horror. Except for this one. This one leads to you.
All right. And what's cool about it is it's an open world survival game combined with an MMO. So it's like Conan Exiles, except with a lot more MMO type experiences. Let's say that. Yeah, experiences. That's a cool Gen Z word. So like we're in Conan Exiles, you basically, when you really came down to it, you were responsible for your own fun. You were responsible for going out and finding whatever you wanted to go out and find and get involved in it. And maybe there were some quests here and there, but really it was up to you, right? In this game, there are entire quest lines that, like, I did the Harkonnen quest, and that thing must have had 100 steps. And I'm not the kind of guy that quick clicks through the yeah, that's still not working. It's bothering me. The narration and stuff. So, you know, I watched every bit of it, responded. And one thing that was cool is it gives you the option to depending on when you make your character, how you decide where you're from, what your cast was, etc. During the game, kind of like the old cool Bethesda games, you know, back when they were cool, it will give you different options. So since my character was born on Getty Prime as a peon, so the lowest class, I a lot of times get special answers to questions during quests. You know, like they'll ask me something and it'll give me the ability to use deception or something else to try to, you know, and then that will, of course, affect the entire storyline after that. So now my character, whose name is Jameis, is currently a full-blown Harkonnen agent. You know, rank 5 Harkonnen, which means I am at war with my brothers, who I think are both going Atreides. It also means I can never join their guild, but I can still go out and adventure with them. So it's weird. So I got to meet just earlier this morning. My character got to meet the Beast Rabban, Glossu Rabban, because I finished all the Harkonnen loyalty tests. And the last one is you meet him and you swear fealty. You know, you bow and swear fealty and, you know, swear the oath of allegiance. And then he takes the contract and puts his seal on it. So, my character is officially 100% Harkonnen. And then the next thing I did is go out and get a bunch of money so I could buy the Harkonnen cosmetic building set, so that now when I'm done with this, which is not working right for some reason, I will be able to rebuild my base in the style of the Harkonnen. So, you know, black stone with a lot more angles and stuff like that. Whereas my bro, he built his base Atreides style. And I have to admit, it looks really good. It looks really good. So, I mean, you know. However, once you go full one side, in order to go to the other side, to buy stuff, say I wanted to buy the Atreides building stuff, it costs double. So it would cost me 160 Solari. Could I make 160 Solari in a day? Yes, I could. Would it be difficult? Pain in the ass? Not a lot of fun? Absolutely. It would be probably the video game equivalent of a colostomy. So, you know, not really something I'm looking forward to, but definitely an option. Now, the thing we need to figure out, though, is my bro really, really wants the flamethrower, but the problem is the flamethrower is only available to Harkonnen troops, right? And it costs 80,000 to unlock the blueprints to build it. And so I think what we need to do is figure out if we can even trade blueprints. And if we can trade blueprints, then he can hand me that money and I can just fly to Harko Village in my ornithopter and grab it for him and give it to him, you know. I mean, as a member of House Harkonnen who came up through the Mentat way, which means doing a lot of spying and assassinations and shit, I'm pretty sure they probably expect me to be a little shady, you know. So the fact that I might get a flamethrower and give it to an Atreides agent, I'm sure if it ever come up, I could always come up with, the fact that I'm trying to basically convert this guy over to becoming a double agent or something. I mean, right? There's a lot going on in the game. Like, I think my next thing to do is just to go freaking ham on finishing up all of the careers, the classes. Right now, I'm mostly a trooper, swordmaster, mentat. And believe it or not, the career I really, really want to unlock to level 3 is planetologist. Because the planetologist, it's almost all passive skills. So, once you have them, they're always going, right? And most of them are about helping you harvest more, helping your machines break down less, using less fuel when you travel. Just like little bonuses that make the game easier. Because believe me, the last thing you want to be is flying over the deep desert and have your ornithopter decide, you know what, I'm out of fuel now. Because it will drop your ass right to your death and crash, and then a worm might show up, and then, it'll just be, not good. I mean, the good news is the trusty sand bike is really easy to make. I mean, it's slow. It's actually not slow if you put the right engine in it, but it's not as cool as an ornithopter or a sand buggy. But I like the fact that they're so cheap to make, a lot of them, that no matter what happens in game, you can always have the old ornithopter waiting in the wings to pick up the slack. You know what I mean? Or the old sand bike. I mean, I used a sand bike for the first 200 hours I played the game because I didn't read a bunch of help sites and stuff like that to learn how to be better at the game and what not to do and what to do. So I basically, everything that the people who are playing the game say, don't do this, that's what I did. 100%. Like they say, whatever you do, don't pick trooper first. Pick like Bene Gesserit or sword master or whatever. Nah. I'm a trooper. And so I made the game much more difficult for myself. Now, I just put bases on these guys, and I'm probably going to get my really fine brush out and find some really bright red and put some eyeballs on these guys. And as you can see, that is a T800 without the flesh. I mean, if it had the flesh on it, then literally it could be any miniature. So, boom, boom, boom. Now, what would I use these for? Not Dune, obviously. I could see using these in a Gamma World game as defenders of some kind of military compound that they were put in charge of, and some of them are still active. I mean, and a pure strain human without the right credentials is not going to be able to talk these guys into letting them in. These guys are going to be like, no, we don't know you. Therefore, beat feet. Anyway, though, guys, it's been about an hour. And since I don't even know if this is working right, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Let everybody get back to what they've been doing. And I will chat with you guys